There's some really cool subclasses for the Warlock thanks to the mod manager, so let's check out the Umbra. We're going to go level by level with the combat tutorial, all the items, you know how it is by now. And of course by doing this we start with the Warlock. Now this means we get our Warlock spell slots, Wisdom saving throws, Charisma saving throws, Simple weapon proficiency, Light armor proficiency. So for your cantrips we're going to start with Eldritch Blast, it's a must have for any Warlock. And we're going to take Bone Chill. Reason I like Bone Chill is that the receiver gets disadvantage on attack rolls and cannot be healed on their next turn. Just a really nice way of managing the battlefield a bit more. Now as I said, we are going to take the Umbra. So you answer the call of the Abyss and pledge your soul to the nameless ancient being. In return he has furnished your dark powers of a strange and unknown nature. This gives us Soul Reaper. So after killing a unit, harvest its soul to enhance your abilities and restore Warlock spell slots. You can store up to 3 souls. Now at this point we get to pick our first 2 spells, and for me, I would take the Arms of Hadar. Really good necrotic damage, prevents a target from using reactions. And Hex. Again, Hex, really nice concentration spell. It's basically just free extra damage, and you can give them a disadvantage on a saving throw of your choice. Hex and Eldritch Blast is a must-have for any Warlock in my opinion. Okay, for your ability points, we're going to have 8 in Strength, we're going to have 14 Dexterity to help with our initiative, 16 Constitution to help with our health pool and our concentration, we're going to have 10 Intelligence, 10 Charisma, and 16 Charisma, it was 10 Wisdom, I read the wrong thing, but 16 Charisma, as this is your spell casting modifier, and it'll be used for multiple other things as you go through the game. Now for your proficiencies, take whatever you feel like you need. And that brings us to Warlock level 2, and we have so many abilities here. We have Summon Phantom Blade. So summon a weapon to your hand, it uses the wielder's spell casting ability modifier, and its damage is magical. You're proficient with it, can hit 1 at a time, and the weapon disappears if you're more than 1.5 meters away from it for more than 10 rounds. You also get Umbra Misty Step, surrounded by shadow. You can teleport to an unoccupied space you can see as a bonus action. Sanctuary, Shield, and Mirror Image being amazing, as well as more spells. So at this point I would pick up Hellish Rebuke, really nice reaction based spell to deal damage. And then for your Eldritch Invocations, the first 2 we're going to take are Agonizing Blast. This means when you cast Eldritch Blast you add your Charisma modifier to the damage it deals unless it's negative, which is currently a +3 as we have 16 overall. And Repelling Blast. When you hit a creature with Eldritch Blast, you can push the creature up to 4.5 meters away from you. Really good for pushing enemies away from your more squishy people like your wizards, or for pushing enemies off of beams and stuff like that. Warlock level 3 gives us our improved Warlock spells, and we get to pick more spells at this point. Now you might be tempted to take something like Whole Person, one of my favourite spells in the entire game. However, I don't think this benefits the Warlock. Reason being is Warlocks will summon all their spells at the highest possible level, meaning you will always cast it at the highest level even if you need to hold like 1 person. So I think spells like this are best left on like your sorcerers and your wizards, that sort of thing. So in that case, we're going to take Darkness. Very nice spell to have. Throw it up and stand in the middle of it, just throw some attacks out. Really good option here. Now for our Pact boon, we are going to take Pact to the Blade. You can summon a Pact weapon or bind the one you're wielding. Pact weapons use the wielder's ability, spellcasting ability, instead of Dex or Strength. Now if you wanted to, you could take something like Pact of the Tome, you could even take Pact of the Chain. I like Pact of the Blade as it gives you more options. You have your summon sword you can do from level 2, or you can equip one like I have and you can use this. Okay, Warlock level 4 gives us our first feat and another spell. So for this one we're going to take Cloud of Daggers. And then for our feat, we're going to take the ability score improvement and we're going to bump our Charisma up to 18. Warlock level 5 gives us Deepened Pact, so pleased with your service, your otherworldly patron added new boons to the terms of your pact. Blade Pact holders gain an extra attack with their pact weapon. So at this point we get to pick one more spell, we're going to take the Hunger of Hadar for this one. I love this spell. This was in my top 10 list, I think it's incredible. Creatures within this black sphere are blinded and take damage at the end of their turn at the start of their next turn. Creatures starting in the area take 2 to 12 cold damage, and then when they end in it, 2 to 18 acid. It's also difficult terrain. I love using this spell. I think when I did the Moonrise Towers for the first time, I actually coupled the Hunger of Hadar with Edvard's Black Tentacles. I had both going, and the enemies were just stumbled. We dropped their health pool so quickly. Now for a spell here, because we took Darkness, Devil's Sight is amazing. You see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, up to a distance of 24 meters. Warlock level 6 gives you Misty Escape. So as a bonus action, you can transform into a Blood Fog, immune to physical damage, clouds advantage on Constitution, Dexterity, and Strength saving throws. You probably recognise this is very, very similar to another spell in the game. And then for your spell here, we're going to take Fireball because it's Fireball. Warlock level 7 brings us another passive and more spells. So for this one, we are going to take the spell I first mentioned earlier, Edvard's Black Tentacles. Again, another spell on my top 10 list. If you want to see the rest of those spells, go and check that list out. And then for an Eldritch Invocation, we're going to take Fiendish Vigour. Reason being is it's just a nice use of False Life. Get to cast at level 1, it's only 7 temporary hit points, but 7 temporary hit points is 7 temporary hit points. Warlock level 8 brings us our next feat. But before that, we get one more spell, so we're going to take Ice Storm. And then for an ability score, obviously Charisma up to 20. Warlock level 9 brings us more spells to choose from. First of all, we're going to take Flame Strike. Nice little pillar of just fire and radiant damage. Really good use of a spell. And we get another Eldritch Invocation. And I really like Minions of Chaos. Get to use it to conjure an elemental. Really helpful sometimes, just having an extra body on the battlefield. Warlock level 10 gives us Siphoning Strike. Your attacks deal additional necrotic damage equal to your charisma modifier, meaning 5 extra necrotic damage on your attacks. So for a spell here, I personally like taking Minor Illusion. I think it's a nice way of just distracting enemies. And then for a spell, the Cone of Cold. Nice, just like AoE in front of you, freeze a whole bunch of enemies. Awesome stuff. Warlock level 11 brings us to 91 hit points, and we get one of our highest level spells. And for this one, we're going to take Circle of Death. Now, there is a really, really nice spell here. Crimson Leech, however, you deal 40 necrotic damage to the caster unless the caster is bleeding. We have nothing to make us bleed, therefore, we won't be able to negate the 40 necrotic damage we're going to take. So you're dealing a lot of damage, but you are going to be taking a lot, and that can swing the tide of a battle sometimes. I like Circle of Death, huge AoE, devastate everything, it's amazing. Now we get one more spell at this point, and you can honestly kind of pick a lot of stuff here. I personally like Vampiric Touch, nice way of just recouping some hit points if you need to, and it's concentration. Warlock level 12 brings us our next feat, or our final feat, as I should say. Before that though, we do get one more spell. Again, loads of options, there's things like Gastronous Form, but we don't need this because we've got our Blood Form. So I would personally take something like a Wall of Fire, really stick with the theme we've got of the fire, necrotic, and cold damage. And for an Eldritch Invocation, there's only one thing to take here, and that is Life Drinker. Attacks made with your pack weapon deal additional necrotic damage equal to your charisma modifier. And then for your final feat, we're going to take Alert, +5 to initiative, and cannot be surprised. Okay, when it comes to your equipment, we're going to start with the Birthright. Charisma +2 all the way up to 22, meaning we now deal extra damage because our charisma is so high. We add another +1 to all our damage forms. For a cloak, we're going to take the Syndermoth Cloak. Any creature that damages us within melee range takes burning. We're going to take the Disintegrating Nightwalkers. Cannot be unwebbed, entangled, or ensnared, cannot slip on ice or grease, and we get free use of Misty Step. Now I know we have our Misty Step as a bonus action thanks to our Warlock abilities, but this is another nice way of just having a free version, as well as having Nightwalker, which is incredible in my opinion. For armour, the Elegant Studded Leather, again +2 to initiative bonus, because our dex isn't the best, it will help boost us up. Advantage on stealth checks is always nice, and a free use of shield. Again, I know we have it thanks to our Warlock abilities, but this is another nice way of just cooping it in. For gloves, the Hell Dusk Gloves. Weapon attacks deal an additional 1 to 6 fire damage. Again, +1 bonus to spell attack rolls and spell save DC, and a strength saving throw +1. And Razor Fire as a cantrip is always nice. For rings, the Snowburst Ring, again we have lots of cold damage, so when we deal cold damage, we also create 4.5 meters of circle of ice around the target, and thanks to Disintegrating Nightwalkers, we can still run in there and attack them. The Strange Conduit Ring, while concentrating on a spell, your weapon attacks do an additional 1 to 4 psychic damage. Hex, again, concentration, therefore, works very well in tandem together. Surgeon's Subjugation Amulet, once per long rest when scoring a critical hit, you can paralyse a target for 2 turns. Seems very warlocky to me. Now for a weapon, I really like using the Halberd of Vigilance. get force damage, you get fire damage thanks to our equipment. We'll be able to throw some more force damage on thanks to our concentration. Or you can take the lightning jab. I like both personally, whichever one you think works best for you. Either way, we are going to be making them our pact weapon. Okay, that is the build. Let's go find some combat and test it out. Okay, so we just left the camp. First thing we're going to do is come into here and we want to make our weapon our pact weapon. So how do we do this? We want to find our pact weapon in here, pact to the blade. Sorry, bind pact weapon, this is the one you want to do. So bind pact weapon. And there you go. Now if we come into our stats here, you will see we now do even more damage because it's now using our charisma. Next thing you want to do, and obviously this is by choice, but you want to cast your 7 temporary hit points thanks to Vol's Life and your invocation. And there we go. Okay, you'll see we're in combat and we are top of the turn order alongside our rogue, which is why it's so good having this equipment and our alert feature. So this being said, let's just throw out some standard attacks against Steve here. Just so you can see just how much we're dealing. And there you go, you'll see a huge build up and there was no crits at all. Now if you want to make this even better, we would do something like Hex. But for now, let's just get Mirror Image Umbra going. We'll boost our AC. Now you see we've come to our AC, it's now currently 25. Theoretically, you want to start combat throwing Hex on, get the extra damage and then attack, but I want to show you just what your base damage is like currently. Now see it's our turn, we still have our 3 mirror images because both the Barbarian's attacks went through. But now let's start with our Hex. We'll put our Hex on the Barbarian in front of us and let's do Charisma. You'll also see that he is burning thanks to our cloak. And now let's start piling up the damage. A massive crit, and if we wanted to, we could paralyze him. We don't need to because he's dead. But just like that. What that then means is on our next turn, we could come in here with our Hex, and we can reapply it without using a spell slot. But because we've used our bonus action and we one-shot him, we can't do that. So what we will do instead is we'll try and close the distance. And you'll notice because we're using a halberd, we have a little bit extra reach, which means we can attack this one. And we got a critical miss that time. So, as I said, we can reapply our Hex as a bonus action. So reapply, we'll just do Constitution this time on the mage. And that means we can come in here and we can start attacking. And look at the huge amount of damage we've done. Once again, we could reapply if we need to, but for now, we're just going to take some swings. Now don't forget these guys are rogues, so thanks to Uncanny Dodge, they do get to take half damage. So if the damage output on these guys doesn't look as high, bear that in mind. And we still got all our huge spell slots we can use. So again, let's start with something major like Circle of Death. And we'll throw this on here. And there you go, you see we took damage as well. It's a big spell, the AoE is massive, so bear that in mind. But it doesn't mean we still have our other bonus actions we can do. So we could do like a Misty Step, a Misty Escape, another Misty Step. We can do our Hex and we can reapply it, and we'll pull it on to the gentleman here. All sorts of stuff like that, you have multiple options. Okay, and we've got our options with Darkness. So it will break our Hex, but we can throw our Darkness up here. And because it's only a action, we only have our bonus action left, but it means we have options where we can start attacking in the darkness on the next turn, and it's a really nice way of just dealing damage when people can't see you. And you see the darkness really does just confuse the AI. And therefore they can't do anything. However, we can. We can stand in the darkness and we can throw out some Eldritch Blasts. And you'll see, thanks to Repelling Blast, they have no luck at all. Throw them off the edge, and this enemy here still cannot see us. And that works on this enemy too. And that is how you end the fight. Now, with that being said, if we were to come in here, you'll see we used our things. These will replenish on a short rest, so it's still worth having your other abilities, like your other Misty Step. Now if you look at your spell slots, we used 1, so bear that in mind as we come into short rest. We got our spell slots back. So just remember that. You get your spell slots back, and you'll get your Umbra abilities back, which is why this is such an powerful Warlock build to use. So I really hope you have enjoyed this guide. If you have, please drop the episode a like. if you want to leave in the comments how you change this build, what you do differently, what you'd add, all that fun stuff, please do so. Love hearing other people's ideas about how the build should be. If you're not already, please subscribe. We've got other guides for Baldur's Gate 3, for Path of Exile 2, for Dragon Age to Valgard, other games coming as well. I really hope you have enjoyed, and if you have, hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.